The story begins with Gabimaru being executed in front of the magistrate. However, nothing can kill him. They tried splitting him in two, burning him, and even boiling him, but nothing worked. He tells his story to the record keeper that he's from Iwagakure, a village of shinobi, but he was fed up with his wife, who happened to be the chief's daughter, and tried to leave the village. The chief gave him a task that once completed, he could be free. But it was a trap, and that's how he got captured. He said he has no attachment to this world and that he wants to die and end his suffering. The woman then tells him, "So, why do you resist?" The following day, Gabimaru is taken to an underground execution site, and the executioner is none other than the record keeper, Yamada Asaimon Sagiri. The calm and cold gaze of this professional executioner made Gabimaru scared and realize that his death wish might just happen. Gabimaru keeps dodging her attacks, and that's when Sagiri says that in the face of death, his true color comes out. She added that he does have one attachment to this world, and that is his beloved wife. She is the reason why he remains alive. Sagiri then offers him a pardon that will set him free so he can live a normal life with his wife. But there's one condition. Gabimaru has to go to Shinsenkyo, aka Paradise, and find the elixir of immortality. But he won't be the only one. The same pardon was given to other criminals, and whoever brings the elixir back will get pardoned. Seems pretty simple for a guy like him, right? Well, wrong, and that's where the story of Gabimaru the Hollow begins. Now every criminal who wants the government's relief is gathered and inform them about the island and their mission. Well, hell breaks loose after they are shown an officer who came from the land of Shinsenkyo. The guy doesn't even look human anymore. He was smiling, but branches and flowers sticking out of his face and body. After seeing the dead body, some prisoners got cold feet and began to complain. They thought the island wasn't dangerous, and one started to walk out when one of the samurai did a nice fade on the guy's neck. At this point, the officers informed them that either they go to the island or they die. Also, if they go to the island, they will be with an executioner. That if he or she dies either by accident or homicide, the prisoner will be executed. But things take a turn for the worst as the criminals are told to reduce their numbers because the boats can't take so many people. That's when everyone started fighting each other as the executioner stood there watching. And you might think our main character, Gabimaru, is in a good position, right? Well, no. The Shogun's head guard offers a palace on the mission to anyone who kills Gabimaru. That's where the criminals jump on Gabimaru, only to be destroyed with his hands tied on his back. Gabimaru didn't go easy on them. Every single prisoner got demolished, which made him ultimately survive. After the purge was done, only 10 prisoners remained. Meanwhile, Sagiri herself is suffering from her inner battles. Her inability to kill someone stems from her past, and she understands the fact that her problem is not overcoming her fear of killing, but accepting the burden of responsibility for the lives she takes. She was born in the Yamada clan as the heiress, and at a very young age, she had to kill. Her father was professional, but she dealt with all sorts of discrimination for being a female executioner. Gabimaru and Sagiri arrive in Shinsenkyo. While exploring their surroundings, he confirms that this mysterious elixir of immortality is real because he explains that the chief of Iwagakure survived a series of fatal injuries. However, Gabimaru has a feeling that the elixir might not be here. Suddenly, they get attacked by a criminal named Twister Keion, the weapons master. He used all sorts of weapons in his arsenal just to crumble on Gabimaru's head. Gabimaru had enough and launched this guy to the air, stabbed him with his own spear, and used the other weapons against him. Once the beatdown finished, Twister Keion's executioner tells Sagiri that the island is a whole mess as the criminals have already decided to kill each other.
数刻で誰も予測できない事態になる。死罪人は半分以上死に、その数刻後にはもう半分。一日もかからず一人になるだろう。
Hearing this, Gabimaru attacks Sagiri. They exchange blows, and at the same time, they realize their hesitation to kill each other. Sagiri barely could keep up with the relentless attacks until he breaks her katana and pins her to the ground, ready to land the final blow. To his surprise, he's unable to kill her. While his name is Gabimaru the Hollow, a man who claims to have no feelings and a ruthless killer, he still feels emotions thanks to his wife. But he struggles with the idea because he was taught that emotions make you weak, that strength is all that he needs. Sagiri tells him he has to accept that emotions are okay. They are strength, if only after accepting your weaknesses that you become stronger. Elsewhere, we see a criminal named Tamiya Gantetsusai being stung by a bizarre-looking human-faced butterfly. He then quickly severs his hands. After realizing that you turn into flowers whenever those ugly-ass butterflies bite you, those things remind me of my third-grade teacher. Soon after, insects the size of the ones in Australia, crikey, came out of the bushes. Giants came out to the trees and surrounded Tamiya and everyone else around the island. Gabimaru and Sagiri are doing their best to survive the waves of insects and giants that are coming at them. But then they got help from another Yamada Asaemon named Genji and Senta and their designated criminal, Yuzuriha. Gabimaru and Yuzuriha have some spicy moments with each other. She tries to seduce him, but he ain't no simp. Rejected, Yuzuriha suggests they work together. In exchange for the valuable information she had, he shall do all the fighting. We then see Sagiri losing consciousness and collapses. Sagiri wakes up and is shocked to see everyone chilling. They tell her that the butterflies were poisonous and caused her to faint. Gabimaru also explains that while looking for food, he found out that many plants on the island were former samurai sent by the shogun. Senta also shares his knowledge, and all of them collectively form a group to find the elixir and increase their chances of survival. But I can't trust this ninja girl. Something is off about her. On the beach, we see that Yamada Asaemon Tenza tries to leave the island by boat with the criminal Nurugai, but is ultimately stopped by a graveyard of samurai ships. They get attacked by monsters, and as they try to escape the wrecks, they see Kisho, another Yamada, who's alive but has flowers sprouting from his body. They managed to return to the beach and decided to walk around the island in search of another escape route. In the meantime, Gabimaru gives Sagiri all the confidence she needs to stand back on her feet. She was depressed because all of the past nonsense that people have been saying about her being a female executioner. The people around her told her she's not suitable for the job because she's a woman and she belongs in the kitchen and stays home taking care of kids. But Gabimaru convinced her otherwise. Suddenly, another trouble comes their way. This time, it's the giant of Bizen who comes and tears a large piece out of Genji's body. Genji gets mega wounded and Sagiri comes to help him, but he tells her to run away, and just as the giant was attacking her, Gabimaru helped her but failed to find a single weak point even after attacking multiple times. Genji gave his katana to Sagiri, who gets plot armor for some time and slices off the giant's fingers. See, Genji? You talking shit about her being a woman and sending her home? And now, she saved your ass. Gabimaru uses his ninjutsu blaze mode techniques to set the jungle on fire, making the giant starve for oxygen and collapse on his knees. Sagiri sees an opportunity and slices off his head. Gabimaru's flames attract all the giant monsters and begin to run away, and then meet up with Senta and Yuzuriha, who were at the edge of a cliff observing the ruins of a human village. While looking at the village, Gabimaru sees a young girl spying on them. He begins chasing after her until he's intercepted by a tree man. The girl kept running, and when they caught her, she was charging a punch like Gon and punched Gabimaru's hand.
この威力、やはり単純な腕力とは別の別種の力。
He thought he had blocked it, and suddenly he was struggling to remain standing. What kind of power did this girl do to deal so much damage? Keep watching, we'll find out later. Yuzuriha and Senta defeat the tree man, but then he asks them to return the girl to him. In exchange, he will take them to the village and tell them everything about the elixir. Hoko tells them that the land is divided into 3 regions: the shore Eishu, Hojo, where the village is, and the central region called Horai, inhabited by Tensen, the immortal gods, and the location of Tan, or the elixir. He also reveals that Tensens will never let a human leave or remain alive on the island. They use humans and turn them into flowers to extract the Tan from them. Tenza and Nurugai were continuing their circuit of the island, but got interrupted by a Tensen. Tenza tries to run away, but it easily casts Tenza aside. Tenza uses his speed to slice the Tensen and run away once again, only to find out that it can regenerate almost quickly. Shion saves them by decapitating the Tensen and making a run for it. Once they create some distance, Shion tells them that he found only one current that would be able to take them back home. But as they're talking, the Tensen finds them, and this time it strikes Shion's throat. Tenza unleashes a series of attacks, only to receive a fatal blow. In his last effort to save Nurugai and Shion, Tenza attacks Tensen with his bare hands, giving his life just so they can escape. Gabimaru gets tired of waiting and goes to Horai alone. While he Naruto runs towards Horai and passes by trees that are chanting sutras, he reaches a giant door where he confronts the same Tensen who defeated Tenza. They have a little small talk, but when Gabimaru asks for the elixir, they start having a heated physical exchange. Even though he's fighting against a god, Gabimaru dealt some damage but was not effective. The fight continues and the 2 opponents keep trading and evading blows until Gabimaru kicks the Tensen. But something was different about it because the Tensen seemed to be in pain. Did he figure something out? The Tensen starts charging its hands with some power and begins to throw some Hadoukens. Gabimaru's defense was useless against the invisible attacks. On the brink of fainting, he remembers his wife, who he had been wanting to smash for a while. He charges straight at the Tensen and unleashes his version of Luffy's Gatling gun on the Tensen, tearing this bitch a new one. That's where this Tensen turns into a giant flower Pokemon with 2 huge faces. The flower keeps electrocuting Gabimaru to the point where Gabimaru is unable to move, but he is eventually rescued by Mei. Conversely, Hoko offers to take Sagiri and others to Horai to look for Mei. Hoko then explains that there are 7 Tensens who rule this island and decide who goes to Horai after the people die. He said that was just a legend he heard when he was a child 1,000 years ago. He said that all humans living there eventually transformed into plants. As Gabimaru wakes up, he's met by Tamiya Gantetsusai and Fuchi. Gabimaru is too weak to battle Tamiya Gantetsusai and Fuchi. He asked them to hear him out. And after he describes the Tensen and their powers, they agree to collaborate. However, their little meeting is interrupted. On the other hand, Senta concludes that this island is not the real Shinsenkyo because it's built with different religious elements and these deities are not real gods. Gabimaru questions Mei about the Tensen and if there is a way to defeat them. Even though Mei barely speaks, she tells him that the power they use is called Tao. She tried to explain but no one understood. Thanks to Hoko, we know that Tao is like Chi or Chakra. It's the power that flows through all things, and in order to master it, you must be in an emotional state of balance, the yin-yang. Gabimaru and Gantetsusai fight the Soshin while Mei repeats the same words, Tao, weak, strong, trying to teach them the concept of Tao. Suddenly, a half-human and half-insect Doshi appears. He showed his interest in capturing Mei. Instantly, Fuchi understands what Mei is saying and explains to Gabimaru that Tao is a balance of weakness and strength. And to see Tao coming from the Doshi, he must understand his weaker side. But now things get intense as the Doshi explains the concept of Tao and that Mei is a Tensen. But she was banished from Horai and now they're using her as a sexual object to master the art of Tao. Excuse me? What? Oh, they gonna die. Gabimaru gets furious, knowing how they've been using the little girl. The 2 Doshis use insects and turn into monsters. Gabimaru holds Mei's hands and gets the concept of Tao. He then touches the insect monster to destroy it, and along with Gantetsusai, they finally destroy both the insects. Hoko and Sagiri come to the gates of Horai, where a unique-looking Tensen with magenta hair removes Hoko's wooden head. The Tensen is Juijun Amogvahar. Juijun Amogvahar. Juijun Amoghavajra. Yeah, I had the same struggle just reading his name. Juijun reveals that Tao is not an elixir and starts attacking them. In their battle, he gets killed many times, but would easily regenerate. Eventually, he destroys every single person, not even giving them a chance to think. The Tensen said that this island is a place for conducting experiments on life, and that there are a lot of things beyond that they will need to explore, and that high-quality humans are turned into Tan. But that's where he reveals a shocking truth. Juijun says that there's no elixir of life, but they use the power of Tao to achieve eternal life. Yuzuriha attacks the Tensen, only to find out this guy is too powerful to fight alone. All three of them try to attack the Tensen, only to be absolutely demolished. But that's where all three of them use their knowledge of Tao, and Sagiri cuts Juijun with her unusual Tao, defeating him. The same Tensen becomes a giant flower and fires a dart-like flower at Yuzuriha, but Senta is hit instead. He begins sprouting flowers and loses his mind. The monster then fires a series of darts at the two women as well, but is intercepted by Shion, who comes from nowhere to save them. At this time, Shion joins the battle and then explains to Sagiri that he's using his awareness of Tao to counteract the power of Tensen, but since he's wounded by darts, he cannot really defeat it. Sagiri explains to Shion that hitting the core of a Tensen could beat them since they know how to use Tao. Then Sagiri and Nurugai both attack Tensen from the front, and Shion attacks from behind. Tension is rising until Senta suggests attacking the ovule, which is like a vulnerable point of a plant. Shion concentrates and strikes the ovule, and the Tensen sprouts blood and dies. Meanwhile, Gabimaru finally awakes after collapsing from exhaustion. However, he's acting differently. He doesn't seem to know where he is and who the people with him are. Sagiri and everyone else arrived at the temple and began discussing what they will do, since the elixir of immortality doesn't exist. Sagiri says that Gabimaru's village chief is truly immortal. Yuzuriha explains that it might all be an illusion. She says that the guy might be manipulating the audience. It seems that Gabimaru's whole life might be an illusion created by his chief in order to control him. That you can't just control anyone with fear alone. You have to give a person a reason to go back when they are sent to a suicide mission. Gabimaru's exhaustion or the extensive use of Tao resets his brain. Unable to remember, Gabimaru decides to play along and gather info and avoid being caught. However, Mei noticed that his Tao is missing from his head.